Hey, Kristin, check your six, because this is...
Our sixth episode.
That's right. How you doing, kid?
I'm doing good. How are you? Do you have a good week?
It's good. A little bit busy. Gave a
Yeah.
lecture on Walt Disney in Orange County this morning, and we're getting ready to fly to the middle of nowhere, i.e., Wichita, Kansas.
Yeehaw.
I'll be speaking to public school employees on Saturday.
That's fantastic. Can't wait to
Yeah,
hear all about it. Being a
yeah.
public school employee myself.
There you go.
So
So,
cool.
and interestingly enough, this will be my second keynote in Wichita. I had someone ask me, I love this. They asked me if I had my lines memorized. And I'm like, well, I don't know that I have them memorized, but I certainly have them down. And
Yeah,
they asked me because they wanted to know if I was going to be a quote unquote Wichita lineman.
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Is that
I
that
am a
please
lineman for the county. You don't know the song, do you?
No, I just thought you were making a stupid football joke about being like a
No,
lineman.
no, 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 no. There's a Glenn
This is
Campbell
because you're
song.
so old and I don't know half of your references.
Hey. So, well, let's tie it to Disney. Glenn Campbell is on the opening broadcast. He might even be in the opening scene, if I remember it correctly, for the opening broadcast of Walt Disney World. He is walking
Oh
through the
yeah.
swamp in Central Florida with a guitar singing. So, those of you who are watching and are old
Yes.
enough to remember Glenn Campbell, Wichita lineman, the opening of Walt Disney World, contact Kristin and let her know that I'm not just old, I'm also knowledgeable.
Whatever. Gosh. Well, I kind of know why you've been busy this past week because someone's been playing with some putt-putt, it turns out.
Well,
What
I
a
have been,
fun story for us.
I have been putzing around for sure. But yeah, this week's article, sometimes you're like, okay, what are we going to do? That sounds good. And you knock it out and, you go do the next thing. This one was fun because I took something that happened a couple of years ago and you wouldn't think there would be any potential. And I managed to come up with something that was a ton of fun, and that is going mini golfing at Walt Disney World a couple of years ago and facing someone, a good friend of ours. Some of the folks watching and listening might even know him, Jody Mayberry, who is almost a borderline professional mini golfer, if there is such a thing. He has his
There is
own
now.
personal putter named El Guapo. And, he challenged Lindsay and I to a game at one of the courses at Walt Disney World, which is one of the few things we had never done on property.
Right.
And we show up, and he has an entire entourage, right? And I'm like, great. And literally, like just a week earlier, Lindsay and I had practiced here in Riverside at a little place called Castle Park, and it was just awful. Like, I got destroyed by Lindsay, who does not have her own personal putter. And now here I am facing Jody and El Guapo and his entourage. And as I said in the article, I don't know what happened, but I was on freaking fire. Had 5 hole-in-ones, lots of under pars, I only had one hole where I was like one over par. I beat everybody, to include Jody Mayberry, to include El Guapo, and I don't have an athletic bone in my body. That was the peak of my athletic achievements. And I've sort of sat on that for the last 2 years. And Jody was back in town and he was like, hey, we should go mini golfing again.
Mm,
And I had no incentive, right? Because it's not going to get any better than it was
heck
2
no.
years ago.
Nope.
You're not going to top 5 hole-in-ones with 6. At least I'm not.
Right.
But I went reluctantly, and Jody beat me, not nearly as badly as Lindsay had beaten me on the exact same course a couple of years ago. I held my own for a while, and it really got me reflecting on, when you peak, is that when you should stop? Is that when you should retire? Or do you always need an X? Do you need to find another mountain? And if you look at Walt's life, you can talk about Mickey Mouse and Steamboat Willie. You can talk about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You can talk about Disneyland. Walt had multiple peaks throughout his career and multiple opportunities to say, you know what? It's not ever going to get any better than that. I'm good.
Right.
I'm done. And of
Right.
course, he didn't do that. He just continuously pressed forward. And I think that says a lot about Walt, but I think more importantly, it says a lot about our own sense of happiness. This idea that, we're always becoming, we're always progressing. Usually when we think of stopping, we often think of it as being stuck and having failed. But
Mm,
what if we stop because we were actually successful? It doesn't
right.
matter why you stop. If you stop, you're going to eventually be like really unhappy and dissatisfied. Keep moving forward. And Walt was really, really good at that.
Well, and I think that's the heartbeat of what his mission was for Disneyland. He never wanted it to be done. He kind
Right.
of built it intentionally for it not to peak. And I think that that's extremely not just fascinating, but inspiring because we get tired. My funds as a public school teacher don't hold a candle, don't hold a putter to, what Walt was able to bring in financially from the success of Disneyland. So he, of all people, had every right to hang his hat, rest on his laurels, take a seat back on that park bench and sit the next one out. But he didn't, and he just kept going. And then, of course, with his health, taking a turn there at the end before Disney World got to open, yet again, he had all the reasons to stop and say, all right, guys, you know what? Maybe this is a sign. Maybe we're not supposed to keep moving on. Let's just take care of Disneyland. But no, even after he passed, he kept pushing. What an inspiration.
Yeah. And, it very much is a mindset. And,
For
Walt never
sure.
stopped. Walt never settled. He, again, continued to move forward. And, I don't think it means that we have to be building the next Walt Disney World, but I think challenging ourselves and recognizing that arriving isn't what makes us happy, but
Mm.
making some sort of progress in any area of our life is, the dopamine hit and that sense of fulfillment and happiness that we're all seeking.
Yeah, absolutely. And that
So
goes
I
hand
loved
in
your
hand.
article, by the way.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I received a ton of extremely supportive and positive feedback, people reaching out and sharing kind of their own journeys because let's be real, America, we're not known for our healthy living, our healthy bodies. And I just want to say that it's never about a look. It's never about aesthetically looking a certain way or being quote unquote skinny. But man, I didn't realize up until that point, up until pulling that lap bar down, and I can even just closing my eyes, it's like I'm right back there on Big Thunder. You don't realize how bad it's gotten, right? Until you start to see how your actions are affecting people
Right.
around you. And it's even worse when those people happen to be the people you love the most and are on earth to protect, and that's our own children. And as a takeaway for leaders, that's your team. I think if we're honest, there's really not much difference between, the family that we have at home and then the people that we spend sometimes more hours of the day with, on our teams at work. So yeah, that was a hard one. It was a beautiful article to write. It was healing in itself, but it's definitely vulnerable. But I know that, listening, chances are you can relate to that, whether it's with your health, physically, or maybe it's something else that you maybe let go in your life that you're seeing firsthand kind of affecting those people closest to you. But it goes back to what you wrote about. And I could have chosen to stay complacent. I could have said,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, I lost, 20 pounds. That's good enough, right? I could be better, but at least I'm not that bad. But I just had my eyes on the prize, and I wanted to continue to achieve something, not just for the betterment of myself and my health, but of course, the life that I was able to provide for my own daughter. And let me tell you, after losing over 100 pounds, those rides now, I'm like, wow, they made these cars bigger.
They have. People don't realize this, but the capacity for an attraction like, say, it's Small World or Pirates of the Caribbean is hundreds, if not thousands of people less per hour than when they originally opened back in the 1960s because we as a population have gotten larger. And
Yeah.
and it's not just our choices or our sedentary lifestyle. It also
Hmm.
has to do with the availability of processed foods. And
Bingo.
and so part of it is just understanding not just that you have a choice, but the choices that you're making. I am
Mhm.
always on that journey.
Right.
And, just in July, was really struggling with mobility. And yeah,
Hmm.
part of it was a little bit weight, but a lot of it was just, injury and age. And I said to Lindsay, I'm like, something's got to change. And the next day, we went and joined a gym, and I started doing something that I had never done before, and that is strength training. Now,
Wow.
historically, if I wanted to lose weight, I would go and power walk and do cardio. And,
Sure.
at one point, this kind of ties back to the mini golf, I was able to like walk 5 miles in under an hour, which is, pretty quick. Some people can't run that fast. I'm never a runner, but I could
Right.
I could power walk, and I can't do that anymore.
Mm.
And within a week, I started feeling better just from strength training. And I haven't made nearly the progress that I would like to have made since July, but I am making progress.
And that's all
And
that matters. Yep.
correct. And it is a daily choice, and it's not an easy choice. I think what I love most about your article was A, the vulnerability, but then the encouragement to the readers to say, hey, if you're on this journey or you want to start this journey or you know what this journey is like, reach out to me. And I know some people did. And that's amazing because
Yeah.
as much as we want to talk about Disney, at the end of the day, this is really about people and individuals and their stories and where they're struggling. And if you can help, I know that you want to. If I can help, I know that I want to.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. The end of the day, you, our listener, are it. You're why we do what we do. So
That's right.
hopefully you guys were inspired yet again with another Monday on Main Street and Wednesdays with Walt. And then, of course, joining us here again on our podcast. We can't thank you enough for your support and for tuning in. We are now across all streaming platforms for podcasts. And then we have a new home, Jeff, on your YouTube channel.
That's right. So check us out on YouTube, the Wisdom of Walt Underneath podcast. And yeah, we're going to keep coming at you, and we're going to keep talking Walt, we're going to keep talking Disney, and we're going to keep talking life and leadership lessons.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys again real soon.